Yo, hold up, pause for a second, because if you are a Washington Commanders fan and you have been staring at the schedule for weeks just waiting for something to pop off, bro, the wait is over. What is going down in Ashburn right now and what is about to go down is exactly the kind of offseason that keeps fans up till 2 in the morning, scrolling Twitter, refreshing ESPN, and blowing up the WhatsApp group chat at 11 at night like, y'all saw this? And I know you are on that vibe because I am right there with you. We are talking about free agency opening in a matter of days. We're talking about the Commanders holding almost $90 million in cap space, an ascending quarterback named Jaden Daniels, and a front office, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, that clearly did not show up to play around. They showed up to build, and the moves you are seeing right now are exactly that. The architecture of a squad trying to jump back into the Super Bowl conversation, not in 5 years, but right now. Today we have 4 stories that together paint the full picture of what is coming for your team. An elite center who could redefine the offensive line, an explosive wide receiver that Washington is chasing like there is no tomorrow, a running back out of Notre Dame who has the GM flying out to the combine personally just to look at this kid, and a former first-rounder trying to resurrect a career in the Capitol. Hit play on this, fam. This one is fire. News 1, Washington going after Tyler Linderbaum and Alec Pierce, the 2 big free agency swings. Bro, let us get straight to it because this is the biggest thing happening to the Commanders this offseason, and it needs all the attention it can get. 2 names, 2 positions, 2 moves that, if they actually happen, completely flip the identity of this offense. Tyler Linderbaum, the best center on the free agent market, and Alec Pierce, the most explosive wide receiver about to hit the street when the new league year opens. Let us start with Linderbaum. According to insider Jordan Schultz, and this is not some hallway rumor, this is real info, there is a widespread belief around the league that Washington is going to go all in on Tyler Linderbaum if there is no new deal with Baltimore. The exact phrase was heavily pursue, not consider, not explore, heavily pursue. That is what people around the league are saying about the Commanders, and when you hear that, you know this is serious. Now, why Linderbaum? To get why this move feels urgent, you have to understand the context first. Washington cut Tyler Biadasz. That caught a lot of folks off guard, but honestly, if you are cutting your center, it is because there is a plan to replace that spot with someone better. And if that someone better is Tyler Linderbaum, then bro, that cut suddenly makes perfect sense. It is not a fluke. It is not a mistake. It is a chess move. Peters clears the piece that is clogging space on the board so the front office can go get the player they really want. Linderbaum is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 3 Pro Bowls in Baltimore, protecting Lamar Jackson, anchoring one of the best offensive lines in the league. This is not some average center who is just fine. Tyler Linderbaum is one of the best at this position in professional football, period. And the big thing, this is a young player, 25 years old. If you sign this dude, you are not buying a 1-year patch. You are locking down Jaden Daniels' offensive line for half a decade. Now the hard part, the money. According to Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, Linderbaum camp is shooting for $25 million per year. 25 for a center, bro. That sounds wild until you realize the current record for a center is $18 million. What Creed Humphrey is getting in Kansas City, and Linderbaum is a more impactful player. Breer thinks the realistic range is around 22 to 23 million annually. That would be a massive market reset. But think about it. If you have $87.6 million in cap space and you have Jaden Daniels as your quarterback for now and the future, you really going to get scared of $22 million to keep that player upright? The logic here is simple. In the modern NFL, the center is not just another lineman. The center is the quarterback of the offensive line. That position sets protections, calls out defensive stunts, communicates adjustments. When Jaden Daniels is in shotgun looking at 7 defenders mugging the line, there has to be someone who can point out the free blitzer, call the right protection, and sort out who the guards and tackles are taking. That is the center job, and if that job is being done by Tyler Linderbaum, bro, Daniels finally has a real offensive line, not just 5 dudes out there trying their best. Now the competition. Breer mentioned the Lions, Bears, Giants, Browns, and Chargers as possible suitors. The market for Linderbaum is going to be fierce. It is not like Washington just snaps fingers and Linderbaum materializes in Ashburn. There is going to be a full-on bidding war. But the Commanders have the cap room to fight, they have the motivation to fight, and if there is one roster in the NFL that needs this specific player more than anyone else right now, it is Washington. Daniels needs protection. The line needs a real anchor, and the time to build is right now. But hold on, because the Commanders' free agency story does not stop at center. Because while all that is brewing, there is another name floating over every offseason conversation. Alec Pierce, wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts, 25 years old. And according to the latest reports, Washington has climbed right to the top of the race to land this dude. Pierce, bro, let me paint this player for you because it is crazy. 6'3", 211 pounds. In the 2025 season, Pierce posted career numbers, 47 catches for 1,003 yards and 6 touchdowns. And that was in only 15 games since 2 were missed with injury. And the wildest part, Pierce has led the NFL in yards per catch for the last 2 seasons straight. That is not a fluke. That is a receiver who lives deep, stretches the field, and keeps safeties up at night. The Pierce market exploded for one specific reason. Dallas slapped the franchise tag on George Pickens. That took the top free agent wideout off the market. And overnight, Pierce went from a nice piece to the wide receiver everybody wants. Projections jumped from $81 million over 4 years, a little over $20 million per year, to $108 million over 4 years. 27 per year in a matter of days. That is how fast this market moves. ESPN Jeremy Fowler said it straight. Expect talks between Pierce and the Colts to go right down to the wire. Pierce is positioned to make at least $27 million per year. The Patriots, Commanders, Raiders, and Titans are among the teams in the mix. That was written just yesterday. Today, Washington is already sitting at the front of that race, according to the latest buzz. Think about what that means for Jaden Daniels. In 2024, Daniels took this team to the NFC Championship with a group of players that honestly had no business going that far. Terry McLaurin as the WR1, a mediocre run game and offensive line patched up week after week. In 2025, everything fell apart when the skill group could not survive the injuries. Now imagine 2026, Daniels lining up with McLaurin and a 6'3" Pierce who can take the top off, plus a line with Linderbaum commanding the middle. Bro, that is not just Daniels' potential. That is an actual roster built to contend. The only real tension point is the money. $27 million for Pierce, plus potentially $22 or $23 million for Linderbaum, plus a Tunsil extension, plus keeping the defensive core together. That is a cap space puzzle Adam Peters has to solve with surgical precision. But the ingredients are there, the money is there, the intent is clear, and Jaden Daniels deserves to see his team taking these swings right now. This Commanders offseason fam is real, not a wait-and-see thing. Real, okay, bro, that is already cooking. But hold up, because the next part is a draft conversation and a player who has the GM flying out to Indy to see this kid up close. And when Adam Peters moves like that, you pay attention. News 2, Jeremiah Love. The running back Washington might not be able to pass up. There are moments in a draft where a player fits a team so perfectly that the question is not should they take this player, but do they have the guts to do the thing everybody knows makes sense. That is exactly what is going on with Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running back, and the Washington Commanders holding the 7th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Let me frame this from the jump. Love showed up to the combine in Indianapolis, and bro did exactly what needed to be done. Ran the 40 in 4.36 seconds for a 212-pound running back. That is not a random scouting note. That is a statement. This dude can get out of the backfield with wide receiver speed, can outrun safeties in space, and win. And beyond the 40, evaluators were impressed with the footwork on routes, the smoothness through position drills, and that ability to pair track speed with the coordination of a high-end skill player. But before the combine, you have to talk about what Love did for Notre Dame in 2025, because that is the foundation. Love put up a season that went straight into program history. 1,372 rushing yards, 18 rushing touchdowns, 199 carries. 27 catches for 280 more yards, 3 more touchdowns as a receiver, 21 touchdowns total. That is not just a nice stat line, bro. That is the all-time single-season touchdown record at Notre Dame. Love passed Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis, the bus. If that does not tell you what kind of player this is, nothing will. And Love did it with 0 fumbles. Over an entire season, 0. For a running back who toted the rock almost 200 times. That screams discipline, technique, a player who understands that the ball is sacred. In college ball, where fumbles are common and often brutal, finishing a year without putting it on the ground once is a maturity sign scouts absolutely love. The awards followed unanimous All-American Doak Walker Award as the best running back in the country, 3rd place in the Heisman voting. Now, why is this such a clean fit in Washington specifically? Start with team context. The Commanders finished 5-12 in 2025 after going 12-5 the year before. Injuries were huge. Daniels missed games, McLaurin missed games, but it was also obvious that the run game did not have the kind of juice that can flip a game when the passing attack is stalling. In 2024, when Washington was rolling, the run game gave just enough balance to let Daniels process and fire quickly. In 2025, without that support, the entire offense leaned way too hard on Daniels playing hero ball. Love changes that equation. A back who can churn out 4 or 5 yards consistently, catch a check down and turn it into a first down, and every now and then house one from 60 out. That is exactly the kind of help Daniels needs. Not just a pass protector, a legitimate weapon, a player defensive coordinators have to respect in the game plan, which opens more space for McLaurin, for the tight end, for the inside route concepts. And here is what makes this especially interesting. Adam Peters flew to Indianapolis for the Combine and met with Jeremiah Love personally. A GM does not do that for players there is no real interest in. And Love, for that matter, did not hide any enthusiasm talking about the idea of playing with Jaden Daniels in Washington. That chemistry, that narrative, that connection that exists before the draft even happens, it matters. It does not decide everything, but when the GM wants to know you and you want to be there, that combo can accelerate a decision. The catch, obviously, is positional value. 7th overall is expensive capital to put into a running back when Washington defensive needs are screaming. The team just spent a season giving up points like the season was about to expire, finishing 27th in scoring defense, only 30 sacks all year, no consistent pressure, depth issues everywhere. And this draft has edge rushers at the top who could completely shift that unit. Matthew Berry mentioned in a recent report that the expectation around the league is Washington taking a defensive player at 7. But Berry also dropped this line that matters. If the top 3 edge rushers are gone by the time pick 7 comes up, do not be shocked if the Commanders take Carnell Tate out of Ohio State or another offensive player. And that is where Love can step in. If the board falls a certain way, if those premier edge guys are all gone, Washington might pivot offense, and Love is the most complete offensive weapon on the board in that scenario. Love 4.36 at the Combine was not just impressive on paper, bro. It was the message attached to it. In a draft year with questions about true speed guys, Love confirmed that his college juice was not just Big Ten context. It is real speed, verified, clocked in front of every scout in the league. That bumps him up boards. That makes pick 7 feel less like a reach and more like a calculated swing. The last piece of this that fascinates me is momentum. The narrative. The Commanders' collapse in 2025 left everybody drained. Daniels hurt, the team unable to protect what they built in 2024, bringing in a young, explosive back with Notre Dame records and a 4.36 on the resume. That is real hype. That is something this fan base can grab onto. That is a rebuild story wearing 212 pounds of pure speed. Jeremiah Love lining up next to Jaden Daniels in 2026 is not just tactical. It is a statement. It is Washington saying we are back, and that story has real value alongside the raw talent. Listen, if Linderbaum, Pierce, and Love already have your heart racing, wait till you hear about a player who landed here almost by accident. Flash something special and just signed on to stay. It is the smallest story of the day, but it has its own kind of energy. News 3, Treylon Burks is back, the former first-rounder trying to revive a career. Okay, fam, this is the move that does not shake the market or reset contract records, but there is something about it that hits from the human side. It is a player trying to get back what was supposed to be the legacy. Treylon Burks, former first-round pick, signed back with the Commanders, and there is more under the surface here than it looks like at first glance. First, quick recap in case the name is not fresh. Burks was the 18th pick in the 2022 draft. The Tennessee Titans took this player in the same trade package that sent A.J. Brown to Philadelphia. Think about that for a second. A.J. Brown went to Philly, became one of the top receivers in the league, got to a Super Bowl, and won it. Burks, the kid brought in to replace that in Tennessee, had the start of a career absolutely wrecked by injuries, broken collarbone, torn ACL in Week 5 of the 2024 season. 2 seasons in Tennessee, 53 catches, 699 yards, 1 touchdown. That is not what anybody had in mind when the card went in during the first round. But here's what sticks out with Burks. The talent was always obvious. Scouts who watched the Arkansas tape saw something real. The problem was never about skill. The problem was the body not letting that skill show up on Sunday. And when you enter the league as the player who is supposed to replace A.J. Brown and you cannot stay on the field, that narrative turns into a heavy shadow that follows you wherever you go. Washington picked Burks up for the practice squad on October 16th last season. Practiced, waited, worked. When Luke McCaffrey hit injured reserve, Burks got bumped to the 53 and played 8 games, 10 catches, 130 yards, modest box score stuff. But there was one moment that tells you exactly why the Commanders decided to run this back. Against Denver, Burks pulled down a one-handed touchdown that might have been the single best catch of the entire team season. One hand, bro, in the NFL. Not everybody can do that. That is a real talent play. The deal is simple. 1 year, up to $4 million. This is not a move that shifts the league. This is not Pierce or Linderbaum money, but it makes clear sense. Washington is going into 2026 with a receiver room that pretty much has to be rebuilt from the ground up. Deebo Samuel and Noah Brown are not expected back. McLaurin is the unquestioned WR1. Past that, this team needs bodies, options, players who can give you something if injuries hit again, and they know all too well how 2025 went. Burks as a depth piece makes a lot of sense. If Pierce arrives, if there is a new rookie added on top, Burks can be WR4 or WR5, the player who sits on the practice squad when the room is healthy but steps in when someone goes down. And maybe, just maybe, in 2026, with a healthier body and a more stable situation, Burks finally finds the rhythm Tennessee never saw. From the team perspective, this move says something about the culture Peters and Quinn are trying to build. They did not just toss Burks back into free agency after 8 games and forget about it. They saw enough to bring Burks back. That is a player development mindset that matters on a young team like this. Not every player that comes in is a day one star. Some need time, health, and the right system to become who they actually are. And there is something kind of poetic about the player who was supposed to replace A.J. Brown in Tennessee, now sitting in the same division as the Eagles where A.J. Brown balled out for years. That is a little reach, bro, I admit it, but life does that sometimes. What really matters is that Burks has another shot, and with Daniels at quarterback and an offense hoping to actually be fully loaded in 2026, this might be the best situation Burks has ever had as a pro. It is not the headline signing of the offseason, but it is the kind of signing that says nobody in this building is giving up easy, and when you are building a winning culture, that mindset matters. Bro, sit with this for a second because we have to process what we just walked through. In a matter of days, the Washington Commanders are stepping into free agency with nearly $90 million in cap space and the intent to aggressively chase Tyler Linderbaum, the best center available, and Alec Pierce, the wide receiver who can stretch the field in a way Jaden Daniels has never had. In the draft, there is a Notre Dame running back with historic records and a 4.36 combine who might land right at pick 7. And in the receiver room, Treylon Burks is back with one more chance to prove that first-round talent is still real. This is not the team that collapsed in 2025. This is a team that learned from that collapse, has the right leadership, has the money, has the quarterback, and has a plan. Not perfectly executed yet, but the skeleton of something big is starting to show right in front of us, fam. And as a Commanders fan, This is exactly the kind of offseason you needed to see. Free agency hits in days. The draft is coming up in a few weeks. Everything that has been built narratively, everything Daniels put on tape in 2024, everything this team suffered through in 2025, it all converges right now. 2026 is the year we find out if these Commanders are really the team of the future or if 2024 was just a flash. And personally, I think what is coming is going to leave us speechless. Fam, if you made it all the way here, you know the drill. Drop a like because it literally costs nothing and it helps me a ton. Hit subscribe if you're still not part of the family because we are here every time the Commanders do something that needs to be broken down with real passion, not cold media distance. And hit the comments. Are you signing Linderbaum, even if it is $22 or $23 million per year? Are you taking Jeremiah Love at $7 or waiting on an edge rusher? Does Alec deserve $27 million? The floor is open. HTTR, bro, always.